reason for that. Some of the informed sources tell us that what has happened is that not every engineering college is really on par with the IITs, NITs, BITS, Pilani. They are not able to produce the best of engineering graduates, and hence the employability. So the main purpose of education is employability. It should lead to a career which is satisfying and which is also gives you respect and money. So all these engineering colleges which are not on par with the best in the country have not been able to create employability of young students like the ones who have joined this forum. So what is happening is that students have realized that engineering or medicine are not the only choices. Commerce does provide great opportunities. To that extent, when we speak to parents, we have been able to educate, inform the parents about the great opportunities that commerce also has, which is related to law, social sciences, hospitality, hotel management, business management, which is BBA, MBA, and so on. So we definitely see a trend reversal that has happened, and I think this is only going to strengthen in the near future. The second part that you asked me was that how to kind of, how do students make up their mind in terms of choosing science and or commerce after 10th. Now, it's probably an easy way out to choose a stream based on marks in 10th, right? But that is not the correct method. We have seen that in the last 15, 20 years, there has been quite a talk about in the corporate about strengths based careers. When I say strength based careers means if individuals, it's assumed that, just like you have certain strengths, and if you build your career on those strengths, then you will not only do well, you will also enjoy it. So Gallup, which is a world leader in strengths-based careers, has been talking about it, and now that has also percolated into educational institutions. Now that's the endeavor, that is the attempt that we are trying to make at Compass, is to make students and parents aware about strengths-based careers. If the student builds his or her career on a strength, and I'm addressing all the students here, then you will definitely do better than having chosen the career only on marks. Now, this is a suggestion, advice, whichever way you want to take it. Please think about it, because you are going to have a 40-year long career. It should not be just based on what others are saying or what marks you have got in 10th. I know that this trend is more prevalent in Telangana and AP, but if you go to other parts of India, especially in Delhi, Bombay kind of places, even the brightest of students in terms of marks, if I say, are taking commerce, and they are very clear about what they want to do after inter. So yeah, so I hope, Atish, I've been able to answer this question.
Yes, sir. Sir, how do you think like this strength-based careers could be done? How one can find out the strengths that he has in? So, do we have something that we can put it out to the students community such that they can know what strengths do they have and choose the right career?
Yes. So I think I can just take it as an extension of the previous response that I was sharing. See, initially our education system was quite good. And when I say initially, I'm talking about at least 100, 150 years ago. The traditional education system allowed students to explore, right, all types of things till the British came to India and set up what is called as the system of preparing people for clerical jobs. Now, I'm not bashing the British here, but the education system produced people who could go into civil services, who could get into government jobs, and so on. So they were very good in writing, they were very good in numbers, and unfortunately, that legacy is still there. So what is being taught in education system in the schools is people can write well and people can solve math problems. Unfortunately, that is not enough for the corporate world. There are a host of skills which are required, and those skills the students are not able to discover in the 10 years of their schooling. So what we do is we have taken a psychometric which is validated with some of the top universities. See, you can take any psychometric, but a psychometric should be validated with enough research samples. So this is a validated psychometric which is used on students to discover their strengths. So analytical skills, logical skills, language skills, skills of visualization and illustration, which is basically related to creativity, and so on. All these skills are essential for certain professions. And if the students can discover and then decide of the careers, then it will be much better for them. They will not only be successful, they'll also be very satisfied with their careers.
Okay, sir. Sir, Sharad sir, I would like to ask you the next question. Sir, as sir said, there are a lot of opportunities in commerce. So can you take us through what are the different opportunities a student has in commerce industry?
Okay. Okay, just an extension to what Ruben also said. That test, if anyone wants to take, it's there on our website for free of cost. So you get an analysis done later on. They can take it. So once they take the test and once we understand the options, again, commerce options are varied. It's not like people who take commerce also can go into all kinds of courses. So the basic foundation is again what is that they suit into. So in general, if I have to put a list of options which a commerce student, most popular among them, at least the ones which the local institutes tend to popularize, it's majorly because see, if you look at MPC and BIPC students, they tend to go into training for either IIT or multiple other exams or for NEET and so forth. However, for commerce students, they don't seem to have. So a lot of local institutes have done two things, which they made it as popular options for commerce students. One is the chartered accountancy course. The other one is civil services. This they have been promoting. Of course, they are good career options. There is no doubt about it. But both have some serious flaw, not flaw in terms of course, but in terms of a career. Now, in my days, people who used to finish graduation, they used to start a chartered accountancy or a company. So in accountancy, there are three major career options. One is, of course, the chartered accountancy. Then there's company secretary, and then there's cost accounting called CMA. So these three two are there. All three have foundation courses. All three have similar kind of a foundation subjects too, which someone writes after +2 can directly get enrolled into this program. And this has been majorly being trained. Of course, in that also only CA has been always put into limelight for reasons unknown to me. But company secretary and cost accounting, similarly, there is a UK certification called ACCA. There's one more called CIMA. There's CFA. There are multiple other options too in accounting field. So those who have interest in accounting as a career after commerce, and if the test like what Shravan was saying, the analytical logical ability is good. Again, there is a misconception among students that if I'm not good in math, I go into accounts. Well, you don't need mathematical skills, but you definitely need some analytical skills to be in accountancy. So those students who are good in analytical abilities, we normally suggest them that they can look at accounting as a career. But again, there are three different options in that, as I said, cost accounting, company secretary, and chartered accountancy. In my time, they used to do it after graduation. Now you can do it right after +2 by writing this foundation program. But this is not the only program. There are multiple other options. As Shravan was again mentioning, there are some very premium institutes. As I said, the problem with these courses are they're just certification programs. You don't enter into an institute. Like if you write an IIT, you go into an IIT institute. If you write NEET, you go into a medical institute. But whereas if you write a CA, it's just a certification. It goes along with the graduation. Unfortunately, a lot of institutes, what they have done, unlike the previous chartered accountants, they have almost discounted the graduation program. And students are only made to study the IPCC or the different levels of the chartered accountancy. And they've missed a wonderful opportunity to have a great college life during the graduation. So, which is, we believe is not the right way of doing. You should go into a professional institute and also continue your certification programs. That's all what all bright students do. Same case with civil services, which I was pointing. Civil services is an option which starts after the graduation, not after +2. There is no course, but there are some institutes which are combining graduation +2, and they teach some CEC and some political science, and then they. But this happens. So if you look at some of the bright IAS or IPS or any of the UPSC candidates, they all come from some very good institutes. Again, the key is that you go into a professional institute. So there are other courses apart from CA, CPT. There are good professional institutes. like BBA, for example, is offered by Indian Institute of Management, Indore, Rohtak, Nirma Institute of Management, Narsee Monjee. You have down south, Christ University. You have Xavier's, many others. So there are entrance tests for it, just like in IIT. So some has to do prepare for them and write. So there is careers in management. If someone has high people orientation skills, and then they can look at BBA as an option. Apart from it, there's also social sciences. Social sciences, especially some of the good private universities like Ashoka or Shiv Nadar University or Aziz Premji University, are focusing on humanities now. In humanities, you have political science, you have psychology, you have social sciences, are very good programs if provided you go into a good institute, which again has entrance tests. Like IIT Chennai offers a very good social science program, are good step to go into civil services. Civil services is an option, but right after graduation. So if you go into these institutes, then you have an option. Apart from it, you also have hotel management and hospitality. Of course, with the COVID, they have taken a little back step, but I guess they will be around and they'll turn back. And that's someone who has again high physical and mechanical skills and who is very good with people. They suit very well for hotel management kind of a program. And beyond this, so it's not just you have law. Law has been picking up quite well. There are some top law institutes which offer amazingly good careers for students, not only just packages. So the thing is, what again Shobhan was saying is that your education will end by the time you are 22 or 23. And assume if you retire by 60, you have good life where you spend in a profession. You should be in a profession which you like, not in something which you don't like. So it's a myth. And similarly, there is mass communication, journalism, you have fashion designing, and other related courses to that, which are all someone can pursue right after your MEC, CEC kind of a programs, commerce programs. Someone who is interested in languages, for example, wants to be in media, they can of course go into journalism. They can go into language programs like BA English. They can get into economics. Economics is a really good career right now. But the key, which a lot of people figure out, the key element here is that they have to learn two things while they're doing plus two, which none of them are teaching for these days, is get trained on the entrance exams, which has, just like in IIT, this also has an entry. You have quants, numeric, you have verbal, you have logical reasoning and general awareness, which one needs to prepare. Along with it, they also need life skills, which are like what Shroman again was saying, we have been trained to be a clerical job. That is not sufficient to do well in a professional education. You're required to have training in life skills, which how to face an interview, group discussion, speak, handle teams, and so forth. So if this combined, as I said again, there are careers in, of course, in accounting, as I said, CA, CMA, and CS, company secretary. Law is there. There's a popular exam called CLAT. You have BBA, which is management program. You have social sciences, you have political science, you have economics in humanities. Then you have journalism and mass communication. You have social, and then apart from it, you also have hotel and hospitality management. These are some of the prime areas. There are many more like psychology and stuff, but these are prime areas which also get some people a good career, profession, well-paid jobs, and also a great. So there is amazingly good amount of careers. So I keep being asked by students, what if I don't know Max? Well, see, you have a lot of good career options and good colleges and amazing learning ability after that. So I guess I've taken you through most of it.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you say that there is a difference? Is there a difference between doing an BBA in the place where we are saying, like say Hyderabad, or going to a professional institute? Does it have more impact when we do it from a professional institute?
Yeah, it's like doing an engineering from regular college and doing an IIT program. There is definitely a difference.
Excuse me, sir. Can I ask a question?
Finish. Yes, sure.
In BBA, what we can do, sir?
Okay, so there are, like for example, in Osmania University, BBA, I don't think there are specializations, but there are some institutes outside we do provide various specializations too. Majorly, there are three: marketing, finance, and HR. However, with the different universities, they have added various specializations, like some have added business analytics, some people have added operations, some people have done retail management, some have added BFSI. So normally, so what is, without having a subjective knowledge, it's to a generic statement what is good. As we again said, every student has their own aptitude, every student has their own interest. Based on their understanding of the subjects, they can decide a specialization to handle in BBA. Of course, the BBA, again, I will even combine Atish's question into that. Where you should pursue. The key element is where are you pursuing it. If you go and pursue it in a good professional institute, then there is very good chances not only of great learning and college life, but you'll also maybe get a placement right after 3 years. These days, a lot of BBA students are being preferred for placements. You don't need to wait till MBA. I was being told by some people in Christ University that their entry level jobs itself, they're able to get about 4.5 lakhs right now, right after BBA. Some are getting even more. I'm just talking about an average. And also it's a great course for getting into management MBA program across the globe, wherever
Business
you want.
management, sir.
Pardon?
Business management. Business management, sir.
Yes, in the MBA, Masters in Business Administration. To do an MBA also, a Master's program too, a BBA would be a great course. Even someone who has a business interest in the future, entrepreneurship kind of an aspect, all this, it also has some accountancy and stuff, but it is more towards the management orientation. And in today's kind of an economy, there is a major need for management people. So it will be a good program. So yes, but again, the key element, as Atish was asking, it's not about Hyderabad or outside Hyderabad. It's about a great institute. And I don't think this platform I would like to promote institutes, but there are some premium institutes which all have entrances. Like for example, Hyderabad also has a Symbiosis Institute. It has ICFI Business School. Outside there are many other institutes like Christ, in Lavasar, in Bangalore, there's Xavier's. These all institutes have their own entrance test. So one has to prepare and write and get into it. It will definitely give them an edge rather than doing any other common. And especially important part, Atish, and also maybe to answer Tanish, is that BBA is a very practical program. It needs someone with the industry exposure like Showman to come and teach. So that's why Showman goes to some of the premium management institutes. Not that they don't have faculty, but it brings in the industry experience, which is a very essential element. I have been teaching MBA for past 20 odd years. The key element is that you require to bring in practical knowledge, application orientation. It is not a theory paper. So I guess that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Sir, would you like to add something to it, Sir Shaumin, sir?
Yes. So I think
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I just yes, I welcome. So please feel free to ask questions whenever you can. I'm sure Atish will moderate the questions also which are coming in live. So I think one key thing that I would like to kind of define and re-emphasize what Sharath has said is about, we use the word professional, and probably in the last 15 minutes it has been repeated about 20-25 times. So there are colleges which call themselves professional, and I would like to differentiate where that thing comes in. So I have been lucky or privileged to have been to some institutions where I studied, and later on also as a as a guest speaker, as a lecturer or visiting faculty. And I can tell you that the main difference between a professional college and any other colleges, that are the students there constantly getting oriented and exposed to the skills that the industry needs, right? This is extremely important, and I will connect it back to what I said earlier, is that can education lead to employability? If that is not happening, then I think the very purpose of education is lost. Now, employability I don't mean only a high paying job, but also in terms of, if let's say somebody wants to pursue higher research, then the education should be able to encourage the student and guide the student in the right direction. So when I talk about institutions that Sharath was also mentioning, IITs, IIMs, let's say Christ University, they are constantly exposing the students to industry people. People come in from the industry and talk about what skills are relevant for that particular role or field. So that whether it is professionals from the law industry, professionals from the business management industry, professionals from hospitality and hotel management, these people come and tell students. That is one. Second is that are you having any kind of direct exposure to these institutes? At Compass, now, it's not just to kind of really talk about Compass, but at Compass, the effort has been always to ensure students make an informed choice by making, getting these exposures to the industry professionals so that they can pick up the right skills and the right roles for them in the future. And the second is what kind of institutes you should go to. That guidance and that skill training is constantly focused on, and not just teaching from textbooks under the name of clearing some competitive exams. See, frankly speaking, it's quite a it's quite a, if I can use the word, I'm on a public forum, I know, but it's quite a scam to say that a 10th pass student should start preparing for civil services. I have batchmates who are civil services officers, right, for the last 18 years. They are fairly high ranked, almost joint secretary level. And I can tell you that the actual civil services preparation takes about a year. That's it. But the foundation for that needs to be formed from now. How do you form that foundation? Is not just by reading textbooks and by going to a coaching institute. The foundation is formed by reading different types of books, reading different types of newspapers. Okay, you can check out the front page, which is full of, a lot of news that we don't want. But you can read the editorial, you can read the business section, you can read the discussions that happen, right? So, look at what is happening around the world. Increase your general knowledge, increase your awareness about what is happening around you in the environment. You will be able to form a foundation, and all it takes to crack that exam is about 8 to 10 months of preparation. That's it. Whether it is a CAT or a civil services UPSC exam, that exam is not the raison d'etre of your life. It's not the final aim of your life. The aim should be to have a good, enjoyable journey of learning that you should invest in now in terms of your time and effort. So a professional and a junior, a regular college should be able to differentiate in terms of the skills that you need. A professional college should be able to give you the right skills. Back to you, Atish.
Thank you, sir. Sir, can you suggest which curriculum is better, sir? Because there is a confusion for the 10th class students, the parents as well, to choose which curriculum. So they say there's IC from basically from students who are from the CBSE background, whether they have to choose the Board of Intermediate Education curriculum or the CBSE curriculum or the ISC curriculum. So which one do you suggest?
Can I take that from it?
Is this question okay? Okay, yeah, go ahead, Sharad. I'll probably add something.
Yeah. Because I've been in academics, so I got enthusiastic about that question. So basically, it's an interesting part. I've seen through all the syllabuses of ICSE, CBSE, Board of Intermediate, and all those things. The syllabuses are not really different. Actually, the content is also similar. So as Shobhan actually answered that question quite in detail in the previous discussion he was having, it's not about the syllabus, it's about the way the syllabus is handled is more important. See, what's happening in school is that the school teachers, the high school teachers only come back and do 11th and 12th. So it is still like going to school, you get your notes done, you get that small choto-moto assignments like drawing a chart sheet and stuff which happens. That's fine, it's good, but it doesn't, but this is a professional program. I think it's exactly in the Board of Intermediate calls it as an intermediate college. It is a shift from a school to an institute. It's a pathway. So there needs to be a professional education, like what you're saying. Who is teaching is an important part. The second part, of course, Board of Intermediate has a little advantage over the others. See, unlike in a school, you won't have that space and time for going for a PT period, for having playground time, lab time. This is more towards getting into a professional institute or a graduation program of your choice after you finish your +2. So, with a Board of Intermediate is tuned in that way that the syllabus doesn't. So I went and see. You go to any school of your choice which run the CBSE. They run typically from 8 in the morning till 4 in the evening. Where is the time left for the kid to go and prepare for entrance test or to look at other aspects? There is no space. Board doesn't have such kind of a limitation. One, two, for some reasons, board also, I think Shobhan also will second to it, when he must have studied engineering, majority of chunk, especially in BITS Pilani, I remember used to take in terms of percentage. Majority chunk was from AP and Telangana because board is very very good. I think I don't know if I can tell it, open-hearted. They tend to give more marks. To our surprise, that people get even 99 in Sanskrit also. Which is okay, good for the student, because many institutes, which I just told you, humanities programs like Ashoka, Rajesh Premji, they all recruit in terms of percentages. So there's a good chance of getting a decent percentage in year +2 when you study in board, and it allows actually for training for other programs, which is probably more important. And beyond that, it's not just the board, actually, it is the way you handle that board is also very important. Yeah, Shuman, take it back. I leave it for your extension.
Yeah, thanks, Sharad. I think you pointed it out well. There's one more thing, I think about education. After a certain stage, we realize, since I go to a lot of these institutes where I talk about, how to choose careers, and even to IIT graduates and IIM graduates, there's one thing I realize is that we have figured out in India, I think we have figured out pretty well how to coach our way into any exam. We can crack. We've become excellent at cracking any exam, whether it is IIT, whether it is NEET, whether it is CLAT. We have become excellent, and I think we should pat ourselves for it. But the fault is not just the students; it is the system. So what has happened is that we are very good at cracking a problem, but we are very bad at solving a problem. And that is because the concept of immersive learning has gone. Let me just explain this word. It's not a very hi-fi word. It's a simple thing which we see at home every now and then. How do children pick up languages? We don't hold their hand and tell, today I will tell you about this word. They pick up their mother tongue just by listening to it, being a part of that thing. Similarly, they pick up bits of culture from seeing parents. So they start celebrating festivals based on what they see and so on. Education should be similar, wherein it should not be a burden for a student. Immersive learning helps students to actually be a part of that system and then learn it. So when in good institutes, I've seen that the students are always surrounded by that particular thing which they need to learn. So whether it is part of the faculty, whether it is part of the academic content, whether it is the peer learning, anything that happens, they are able to pick up. It is not forced down their throats. That is an attempt that we are making at Compass, which is to provide a platform. So we have student managed activities. We understand that students need not be handled as kids in inter first year. They are more like who are ready to take on the world in 2 years. So why don't we treat them as adults? We allow them to take initiatives and do certain things on a regular basis. So we have these monthly themes that they choose, and they decide to perform on to bring out those skills which are necessary for the competitive exams later. So it is not just the coaching approach that we have, but a more immersive learning which will help them become more holistic professionals, if I can call it. So that way, it is not just the board, which is, I think, a leveler. So if you go to any good institute, you will find that there are people from all over, CBSE, ICSE, and if there were a difference between CBSE and ICSE and the state board, we would have had representation only from one particular thing. So why is that there? So when you go into an IIM or when you go into a national law school, you are pretty much on par, is irrespective of the board that you belong to. So don't worry about the board so much. Focus more on the academic processes, which will help you build the right foundation in these 2 years.
Sir, Sharad sir, I would like to.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you can continue, sir. I'll pose the next question.
I was just saying that similarly in Compass, we've also added few industry-approved certification programs to even fill in the gap of a career of a student choice. For example, someone wants to go into a BBA. Now, typically speaking, apart from commerce and accounts and economics, the other kind of skills are not trained. For example, someone needs to learn persuasion and let's say influencing skills. They are not there. Someone wants to learn the foundations of management, like what are principles of management, that are not there. So we fill in that gap through that certification program. Same for law, similarly for other kind of programs in accountancy also. Even accountancy, for example, none of the syllabuses teach you some basic things about how to file a company's incorporation, a GST, some small tools in accountancy. These are not taught. Even in BCom, they're not taught. So we fill in that gap with some certifications. So yeah, so to make it like the multiple repeated word to make it professional. Yes, Satish, go ahead.
Sir, for students who are interested in opting finance as a career, so are there any other opportunities available other than chartered accountants?
Yeah, okay. So this is a good, so again, as I told you, there's a misconception in the market that I don't like math. So, and then that's the reason I am in commerce. But I have also seen a large chunk of students who like math, but they don't end up in learning sciences, so they come up here. Now, when I say math has two parts of it, of course, solving all those complicated problems. The second part is also having a numeric ability, that is the ability to count numbers, handle data, and so forth. So someone who has that option can first of all look at a career in accountancy. Now, in accountancy, again, CA is not the only program. So someone, let's assume, likes finance but is not very high on the numeric part, can look at a BBA finance kind of a program, which is into financial management, not into accountancy. Of course, apart from that, you also have the regular BCom. There are many people who just do BCom and then MCom and also get into banking related stuff. So there's a banking area also for an accountancy student to get into. So there is clerical entrances, of course, right after plus two, which people can write. I think it's called IBPS. So of course, after plus two, also a lot of people, degree also, there are a lot of people writing that. Training which we provide for competitive exams is even useful for that. So banking is one, financial management is one more. Apart from it, this cost accountancy, as I was saying, is another option which they can do. Again, cost accountancy, you have an Indian version of cost accountancy, which is called CMA, and then it used to be earlier called as ICWA, and then you have company secretary, and then you also have, apart from that, you have foreign UK certification called ACCA, which is an equivalent to a CA program. There's a US version called CFA, Chartered Financial Analyst. Then you have an UK version of cost accounting called CIMA, Chartered Institute of Management Accounting. So there is not just limitation. So you just necessarily don't need to go into only doing a CA program. There are many certification programs, like one which I mentioned, which a student can pursue along with their graduation in accounts. And again, the important element, as Shroman was again pointing, there are some really good commerce institutes in the country, especially in Delhi, like SRCC, the very popular one. There is one more in Mumbai called Xavier's. Of course, Christ also has its own commerce program. They are different level altogether. Again, for some reason, the graduation program has completely lost. Unlike my time, we used to have some graduation degrees like Badruka, AV College, where in Hyderabad are considered to be decent. But nowadays, the graduation itself for BCom is not even looked like an option. It is definitely an option for people who like accountancy. You don't need to go through the rig called CA. CA is a good course. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But everyone is not inclined towards it. Only 6% is the pass percentage. Now, CA is not, the Association of Chartered Accountancy is not a fool that they're passing list. They know that only few people are suitable. It's a vigorous program. So it's a good certification, but not everyone is cut for it. Unlike a lot of people are trying to promote as if it's a course for everyone. Only 45% is the pass percentage for the foundation. Only 6% is the pass percentage for people who complete the CA program, and that too after a lot of difficulties, through which they're losing. So graduation in a BCom, a commerce, or a BBA finance program are also good options of getting into accounting program, careers. There are many banks, insurance companies, stockbroking firms which would love to recruit this kind of people. Not everyone recruits a CA. Similarly, there are so many companies, like even now you can go and check online, go to Naukri and type companies like KPO companies, knowledge process outsourcing companies like Invesco, Wells Fargo, or UBS. Many of them recruit, or DS, Merrill Lynch. All these people essentially recruit graduate students with a good graduation knowledge, not necessarily CA again. So there are excellent career opportunities beyond CA. CA is a good program. Absolutely, we do offer in Compass also as a part of the program. So what if someone is likes in accountancy, we train them on 3 options. So you don't need to hit only CA. You can also attempt companies that get CA and CMA. Whichever you crack through, you can actually pursue that. So there are decently good accounting careers, Atish, not limited to only CA.
Thank you, sir. Sir, based upon this question, we have a question from the participant, sir. Sir,
Okay.
Shaumin sir, Havish would want you to answer this question. So
Okay.
his question is like, he's interested in MBA finance, sir, and is also looking at, he's actually confused whether to take BTech as an opportunity as graduation or BBA as an opportunity as graduation.
So, good, Havish. I'm very happy to see that you have clarity on what you want to do, at a postgraduate level. If I were in your place, I think I would have taken BBA and not done a BTech for 2 reasons. One, uh, you know, provided somebody like me would have told about this particular option. The one reason is that engineering does not give you any edge in MBA, right? What gives people an edge in MBA is, of course, the analytical skills. But engineering itself does not sharpen your analytical skills any more than BBA, right? The second is that if you are clear that you have to do an MBA in finance, then maybe a BBA in finance will probably help you more than engineering. You will also save on 1 year of education, right? Which means that you can actually spend that 1 or 2 years in between BBA and MBA for an internship to gain valuable industry experience. So if you're pretty much clear on MBA finance, then you should go for BBA with finance as your specialization. And as we were discussing earlier, today it is very important to look at the traditional disciplines of marketing, finance, HR, operations, along with some new tools. New tools like analytics, big data, artificial intelligence, robotic process automations. All of these tools also should be picked up for along with the traditional disciplines. So when you are looking at MBA finance, be open to picking up some courses also along the way, even before MBA. It will help, right? So that is one. Just one caveat, which is kind of a caution, is that just check your skills. Typically for MBA, one would need to have good articulation power. In case you have it, it will be a big benefit to you. Plus, some amount of analytical skills are required for finance. So, if you have not taken the psychometric yet, please go through it. And if you are good on analytical and linguistic, you will definitely have an edge in your finance specialization in MBA.
Sir, again, there's one more question for you from Sweetie, sir. Sir,
Yeah,
she wants to know whether BBA is better or BCom is better for MBA finance.
BBA is better or BCom is better. So, see, I will like to place my bets well. Today, we have to think about education from a capitalist point of view. We have to move towards capitalism when it comes to education. Now, if I have a BBA, I've invested 3 years of time, money, and effort, right? I can get a job after BBA and get that work experience. One is that. Second is that if I have a good job, let's say what Sharad was talking about, 4.5 to 7.5, 8 lakhs is also possible today after BBA. If you are from a good college or a good student, top percentile, top quartile performer, then you will definitely be picked up for some of the best jobs in the country after BBA. So you have 2-3 years work experience, plus you also are able to finance your way into some of the top colleges. Now, why I said this is important, it is also important in the US because students do look at how much they are paying in some of the top colleges and what is the return on the investment that they make. So if you are getting into any of the top colleges in India, I'm talking about IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, XLRI Jamshedpur, Indian School of Business has a 1-year program. But all of these are in the bracket of about 22 to 25 lakhs only tuition fee and another 5 to 8 lakhs of hostel. So 2 years, you spend about 30 lakhs, right? If you have a good job, you will be able to finance a part of it, not create any burden on your family for it. And second, you will have a great work experience, 2 3 years, which will put you on a sure footing when you go for the interviews into some of the top institutes. If you have 2 3 years of work experience, then a top IIM, a top IIM or an XLRI will be happy to lap you up. So please, I would suggest that you go for a BBA. BCom, yes, it is not a bad course, but it is probably not so much industry oriented as a BBA. Of course, when I'm talking about the good institutes for BBA versus the good institutes of BCom. But SRCCs of the world, Shri Ram College of Commerce in Delhi University, even they have placements for BCom students. So a few of them are exceptional. But I would suggest that you place your bets on a BBA, sweetie.
Thank you, sir. Sharad sir would like to add something to this.
Yeah, again, if you actually plan to do a BBA, a BCom, you have to look for a good commerce institute too. By the way, this is so once you get in the course, I think you will understand this, sweetie, that accountancy is completely different from an MBA finance program. Accountancy is more a career towards auditing, maintaining accounts and stuff. MBA finance is more towards a career in financial management, okay, which includes something like risk and portfolio management, handling investments and so forth like that. So there are two different careers. If you plan to have a career in accountancy, okay, then you have to look at option of getting into a BCom. If you plan to have BCom and chartered accountancy and so forth, an MCom kind of a program, if you want to get into an accounting career. If you would like to get into a career into financial management, then a BBA finance and MBA is a better option. I think Tanish again has a question: which BBA college is better? Okay, for BBA, which college is better? Yeah, there are many institutes, Tanish, for BBA. The top one is Indian Institute of Management, Indore, and the Indian Institute of Management, Rohtak. Then there is Nirma Institute of Management. Then there is Narsee Monjee in Mumbai. Then you have Christ in Bangalore and Lavasa. You have Xavier's in Mumbai. There are Symbiosis in Pune and Hyderabad. Some of the top institutes, not that there's the entire list, but some are of the top BBA institutes in the country. In Hyderabad, there are quite a bit. There's ICFI Business School. Again, as I said, SIMBI in Hyderabad is also there. Symbiosis Hyderabad is there. Apart from it, most of the others are university affiliated colleges. Maybe we will come up with a BBA institute, then I can tell you it's a good college. The Christ, absolutely, Christ is a very good institute for BBA. It has an entrance test after +2 and an interview post that, a group discussion interview. Yes, it's a good institute. Yeah.
Just one thing I would like to add, this BBA versus BCom is an interesting, juicy debate. I think one point that I would like to add is that, see, if you look at the origin of courses, MBA particularly, right, it is considered to be one of the most quote unquote professional courses. Why? Yeah, I think Tanish, the whole point is really not to talk about specific institute, but I think we have given some amount of guidance in the top institutes. But if we go institute by institute, really we'll be deviating from the main agenda. But you can always reach out to us. We can have a one-on-one in terms of which institutes you can target and so on. So don't worry about those. Yeah. So let me get back to the the professional course. For example, MBA. Right now, MBA is a course which was kind of designed by and designed for industry. Right. For example, in India, and XLRI Jamshedpur is one of the oldest B schools. I'm not talking about it because I'm an alumnus of that place. I'm talking about it because I know about the origins of that. 1949, when Tata needed its executives to get trained, is when XLRI was started, right? So it was an industry demand. If you look at another trend, which is in the mid 90s, after 91, 92, when India undertook liberalization and a lot of multinational companies came into India, we saw a demand for homegrown managers in India. And that is why you would see that suddenly there was a spurt in the number of people who took CAT and who went to some of the premier institutes. So all the Accentures and the McKinseys and the BCGs of the world started coming to India, setting up their office for doing big assignments, big projects here, and they needed homegrown managers. So that is why the demand for MBAs came in, right? Now, so as I said, MBA is a professional course meant for the industry, designed by the industry, and lot of hence industry professionals come to kind of teach there or on a visiting faculty basis, interact with the students. So when we talk about professional colleges and professional courses, that particular quotient of the professionalism is going to help you a lot, which I think BBA definitely has compared to a BCom. And I'm talking about in general. I'm not talking about a specific college here, but in general, BBA will orient you towards the industry much more than a BCom. So please make your choice accordingly. And when you are choosing a college also within BBA or within MBA, of course, much later, it is not your concern, immediate concern, but think about how much of industry interaction we have. And at Compass, I think we are really pioneering that students who are just 15, 16-year-olds are interacting with senior industry professionals so that they aspire to become like them and also understand that what do they do on a typical day. Is it good enough for me, or is it boring for me, or is it going to be an exciting journey for me? That is what they can make out when they interact with these
Sweetie has a question which is like a really far away question. Even I didn't think about such questions. Will there be a work-life balance after doing an MBA finance? Wow. Okay. To answer that question, I have a reverse question back to you. Would you like to be in a high professional career where you're in a leading position and you would like to handle situations and you're in a leadership position, or would you want to be in a back end, just a small desk job? Normally, people who opt for an MBA tend to be very, very ambitious. Okay, would like to be in senior positions in the company, like what Showman did earlier. Would like to handle. So obviously, when you take responsible positions, senior positions in an organization, there would be more work than the regular one. So, to answer your question,
I can add something there.
yeah, you have first-hand experience.
Sweetie, I'm actually we are quite happy and surprised as well because we really were not so smart, at the ages that students we get to see today. We really didn't have those kind of questions, but very happy to see these kind of questions that you're thinking really far ahead. But work-life balance, I think those 2 years of grind in the MBA college itself will prepare you for it. You will not regret it because you will get used to it. You will, as I said, the best of institutes, you will be surrounded by, the people from where you will just pick it up. You will not be told to grind for 18 hours. So my typical day at Excel used to be sleeping every day at about 4 o'clock in the morning and then getting up at 8 o'clock for classes. And that was life, right? So we never regretted it or we never thought that it was difficult. You just become a part of it. And in the corporate also, it will be a little better actually. You may not work till 4 o'clock in the morning, but you will have to put in 15, 16 hours if you want to do well. And I'm sure those 2 years of the MBA college will make you ambitious and hardworking enough to be on that path. So don't worry about it now. You just put in your efforts now and stay focused.
Yeah, there is no replacement for hard work. You would have. There are more questions, Shobhan. Then there is even someone has put in even if you do well in BBA, getting it in institute like IIM Indore, Ahmedabad, likely difficult if you get average marks in 10th. As per my knowledge, but I think someone will add to it. they base from your graduation and previous education percentage. Of course, the percentages will have certain thing, but the rank in the entrance test which you will get and your performance in group discussion and personal interview will be key. And of course, the marks also, if everything remains constant, I think the marks will have a definitely, if let's say you and some other candidate have similar kind of an grading, then yeah, the marks might have and definitely impact. But again, don't get into this that I should get into an IIMs, otherwise my life comes to an end. It doesn't. There are decently other professional institutes which also have, but yeah, you should aim for the topmost institute. So the answer is, I think, as far as knowledge goes, it's more of your entrance test and performance in GDPI, and of course some percentage of marks in your graduation and so forth. Yeah, there are 5 years integrated programs which start right after +2. Then the marks of +2 will also be an determinant. But the more important is the score and percentage. Is that right, Shraman?
Yes. So I'll tell you, I'm sure all of you know about Chetan Bhagat. I'm not a great fan of Chetan Bhagat, but there is a book which is very popular, and that's why I'm using it as a reference. It's called 5 Point Someone. Three Idiots was based on that book. So Chetan Bhagat is an IIT IIM product, and he probably told the inside story, right? So in IITs, I'm just taking as an example. Don't worry about IIT. If you score a 5 point, you are basically a Panji, right? You're called a Panji, which means that you are probably one of the last of the batch. But I have seen Panjis or Chiggis, the 5 pointers or the 6 pointers, making it to the top IIMs, IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Calcutta, and even UPSC, one of the toughest exams, even really tougher than IIM A. So don't worry about that particular marks right now. But having said that, academic consistency will always put you in good stead. So I'm not saying that you should flunk and you should get low marks. Try to get, but if you have not been able to, let's say, manage some good marks in 10th, life is not over. Don't worry about
Yes.
it.
It looks like you seem to be aware of it. That's good. Now, there is a change. So, for example, till 10th, for some reason, I also didn't study well. But post 10th, I just started realizing that for professional institutes required to study hard. And then I made a change in way we did our education. So the same is with you. If you realize that, which is very good, to maintain good academic records is absolute requirement. Then there's some other question called, is BBA or arts, which you think is better? So answer to that, Deepak, is we answered it a little earlier. You need to take a psychometric assessment based on your abilities, which you are good with. Then we can suggest. There's nothing called better. What suits you is an important question. This is exactly what we are trying to point. Do not go by market trends. Today job demand is, but if you're not suitable for it, how will you go into it? Assume there is a lot of demand for painters, but I don't know how to draw a single straight line. How will I get into it? So the important question here is either you want to take arts or BBA program. You have to figure out what suits your ability. So if you take the free psychometric assessment available on my website, we will be able to give you an one-to-one analysis and tell you which might suit you. So whatever suits you can basically get into it. I'm sorry, we have spoken a lot of bit of BBA and it looks like we are selling BBA as a better program. No, we didn't mean that. We're saying it's an option. There are more questions.
Yes, sir. Sir, we have spoken about graduation, sir. So the graduation comes into picture only when we have done our +2. So there is a question here. There's a confusion among the parents and the students. So which course should I choose to get into these graduations? Whether I have to get into MEC, HEC, or CEC? Which course has better options? So is there a difference between these three?
Okay, so I will also include some questions asked in the chat with that answer. Okay, so here Satvik asked, I'm planning to do a CA. So which graduation course is better? First of all, Satvik, you need to do probably an MEC program in your +2. Then the graduation part comes in. Doing a professional BCom program would be helpful for doing a CA program because the subjects are similar. So it will make your life a little easier to attempt those two things. You can pursue two things parallelly. If you clear the foundation program, then you can pursue a BCom and the CA together. Now, so which stream is better, MEC, CEC, HEC? is essentially, so another one someone asked, is BBA a graduation course or undergraduate program? It's a graduation program. BBA is a graduation program. So depending on the course you want, the plus two has to be there. So assume you are decently okay with maths, but you didn't like sciences, and that's why you are taking a commerce subject. Then a MEC subject would be an MEC, CEC, HCC have similar kind of an options. But again, history also has lots of dates, numbers, and other things. So if you're not really high on analytical, logical, I think history also will be a difficult one to remember. So my CEC or MEC is better, but well, if you don't even like civics, then you can look at history as a subject. There's not major difference. If you do not enjoy maths, do not force yourself getting into an MEC, because then passing plus two will become a difficult task. Doing an MEC only has a couple of additional subjects which you can do. Like for example, you can go for a BSc statistics or a BSc mathematics subject additionally, then a CEC student. If that's not what you're looking at, a CEC is a good program enough to go for a BBA, social sciences, hotel management, or for those IIMs and all those things. A CEC also should be good enough. You don't need to do an MSc program. So again, it's more about what suits you and what kind of a graduation you are planning to do. So I didn't handle that. Actually, some of the MSc students also can look at not just careers in BCom, BBA, but also can look into, I think last couple of weeks we did a webinar and Christ talked about data analytics. Is also an option which MSc student can look at. Math, unlike previously, statistics and mathematics programs are not leading to only jobs in teaching. They're also leading jobs into corporate. For example, we went for a campus hiring to HCU. For an economics student, the average salary packages being offered for them also is beyond 4.5 lakhs and 5 lakhs. So it is not true that only they're sent for teaching. They're taken for many other subjects. So, so to answer your question, if you're not very keen on maths, take CEC or a HEC. But again, history is a lot of data, numbers. You have to remember all those things. Be conscious about it. History doesn't mean just some theoretical paper. That's why a lot of students prefer either a CEC or an MSc. And a lot of people don't look into HEC, but in case you are really keen about history, you can take it up. Otherwise, the career areas are all same. As I said again, MSc has two additional options of getting into statistics and mathematics if they want to, which a CEC student might not be able to do. Yeah. So based on what you're planning to do for your degree, pick that up.
Sir, do we have a platform to get into the NDA as well after doing our intermediate in commerce industry?
Yeah, someone, MEC students can attempt NDA if I'm not wrong at all. Max is the only requirement. You can absolutely attempt NDA. There's an entrance for it, which is on similar lines of what we prepare for our entrance test. So obviously they can take it up. There are many questions on the chat also, Atish. I think
Yes,
someone
sir,
is asked, is it better for a specialization in specific subject?
Yes,
in
sir.
which area? Kanishk, are you talking about degree or in plus two? Kanishk, I didn't get the question properly. Is it better for specialization in a specific subject?
So it might be related to graduation, sir, because it came a couple of minutes ago.
Okay, so again, Subhash, okay, I'll answer that. Subhash has essentially said, can you pursue BCom and CA? Absolutely, everyone used to pursue that way. They used to have a good graduation life and then pursue a CA. Nowadays, it has become that BCom people are only writing like a distance mode and only preparing CA. Not necessary. All good students who have done CA earlier, you can go and check with CAs who are already practicing. The good ones, as I said, are all people who have attended full-time BCom college and then pursued a CA. So if you go to a good BCom institute, which is mostly based on your percentages, you might have a better chance of clearing your CA than other people. Yeah.
There is one particular question. It is, I think, more about being curious. Sweetie has a question on MBA finance, whether it leads to professional position and a responsible job. I would say that, of course, all jobs after MBA will be, I think what you're pretty looking for is how much does it pay, and whether it is kind of exciting. I think all jobs after MBA can be exciting as long as your interest lies in that area. So it's not that operation roles are any less exciting. I have seen some of the best of engineers who do their MBA and specialize in operations. They get into companies like 3M or into manufacturing setups, and they do really well. They enjoy it. In automotive companies, they take a lot of MBA with operations specialization, especially in fact NITIE, which offers an MBA in operations. Probably the only one in the country with which offers MBA in operations only as a specialization. There are other IIMs also which offer, but along with that they offer others also. So it all depends. Finance is a well-paying job. Yes, if you do an MBA in IT or in HR, maybe compared to even MBA marketing, finance can be an extremely well-paying job, especially if you work in banks, if you have roles in investment banking, if you work in treasury, then yes, you really, if you work for about 10 years, you don't have to worry for the rest of the future. So if you know Khan Academy, Sal Khan or Salman Khan, not our Indian Bollywood actor, but Salman Khan, who was a hedge fund manager. He is an MBA in finance and he worked with a hedge fund. So by the time of 30, he had made enough money, and he then started Khan Academy, which gives education for free. So, sweetie, if that is your aim, MBA finance can be a lucrative role. Yes, a lot of responsibilities you will get.
Someone
Sir,
must, I think, ask.
Kanishk has said it is like the specialization was related to the degrees.
Degree, more in masters, the specialization happens, Kanish. In degree, it is not necessary, but there are some institutes which are offering. It is just to, mostly BBA has general management, only few subjects are specialized in area. So it is better, yes, it is better to have a specialization because that will keep your career area focused. But mostly in masters, the specialization happens more intensely than at a graduation level. So yes, you can't. I mean, you can't be a HR and a finance student at the same time, no? So you have to be any one of them. So it is better. So Vasisht also had a question: how accurate is psychometric test?
How accurate is a psychometric test?
Very, very good question, Vasisht. I was waiting if someone. It's about 70% accurate, Vasisht. That's why what we do is we include. We just don't do. It's not advisable. So if you're doing a psychometric test, we don't give the report immediately. It has to go along with a discussion with one of us. That's why we are trained on doing a psychometric analysis. It's not like everyone. The report is only at one part. But what do you analyze? So we ask questions to the student. We understand their psyche. We understand their attitudinal interests. We understand their abilities. Some have to be questioned and find out. Based on the combination of these two, only we can suggest. Only psychometric test, you rightly pointed out, is about 70% accurate. Of course, it is well tested. It is the ones which we use is not limited only to an one student. It has been tested quite a bit earlier. It's been a successful psychometric assessment. Showman already pointed that out, and that's the one which you do. Again, the other psychometric test also has multiple things. It has some psychometric test personality, some psychometric test strengths and weaknesses. Some do on career orientation. For a 10th student, those things we do not advise requires to be going. If you just do an abilities-based test or a potential test, it should give you an enough input into what careers might suit you. So combined with a counseling session, it is quite decently accurate. Yes, of course.
Yeah, I think. I think Varshit, it's a fairly good question, smart question. What is basically called as the selection validity. So companies or institutions use a lot of processes for selection validity, which is used for selection. For example, group discussion, interviews, and all of them are tested on selection validity. Means whether the process which has been used is actually throwing up results which are in line with the expectation. So typically these kind of psychometrics, the ones that we are using, have about 70%, as Sharaf pointed out, which means it will give you a good sense of direction, right? But sometimes specifics may still have to be worked out. For example, it may tell you that you are very good at culinary skills, basically cooking, right? which means that you can become a good chef. But will you become a food entrepreneur or not? I think then you will need another combination. So those kind of things will have to be kind of figured out as we go along. I think there is one more question which has come up.
Yeah.
Also a time check, Atish, in terms of how are we doing on time? Yeah.
Sir, it's almost 12:15. We have crossed the time we have put on.
Maybe another
Okay.
one or two questions we can take.
Yeah.
Yes,
So there is someone from 12th daughter is posing in which. So okay, it's not right to point out institute, but I think the good institutes in Hyderabad in the recent days in terms of placement and decent environment. You missed Villa Mary also in that list, by the way. So Bhavans in ECL, in ECL, if I'm not wrong, is supposed to be a decently good institute. You also missed Loyola here, is also supposed to be all right. But St. Francis is supposed to stand higher from most of these institutes. Bhavans in ECL is supposed to be a good institute. Villa Mary is supposed to be decently good. Badruka has been there for a long time. So yeah, in terms of maybe if you ask my assumption from our learning and feedback from previous students, yeah, St. Francis, Villa Mary, they're both only girls' colleges. ECL, Bhavans, followed by Badruka, I think are good options in terms both of career and all those questions which you spoke about. Yeah.
Sir, the last question from our FAQs is like, keeping in mind the current situation of the COVID-19, how are we planning to go ahead with the curriculum and maintain the social distancing for the students in our college?
Sure. So I think what we hear from the concerned education officials, there are various people that we have been talking to. One thing is very clear that the way forward is blended learning, right? Which means it's a mix of both online as well as offline, which is going to happen. So far, we have seen only offline classes, which means students sitting in the classroom, faculty coming and teaching. But looks like that in the present situation, that may not be permissible. That may not be safe for our students, and hence at Compass, we have taken a very conscious and an early stance at starting our classes right in the month of April through the online medium. So the way forward is going to be about 30-40% of the learning for this year, at least for this calendar year of the academic year, is going to be about through online, and rest will be based on offline classroom based sessions. But that is something that it is difficult to predict in terms of how it will pan out. Having said that, I would like to share something that I think I have talked about in different forums, is that online teaching was more of a knee-jerk experience by knee-jerk initiative by educational institutions, schools. But I don't think that everybody was prepared to teach online, right? They just got into a platform like Zoom or Google Meet and started, letting out the lessons from the books. But I don't think learning can be complete through that. There is a distinct difference between online teaching and online learning. Online teaching is a one-way road, whereas online learning is a two-way process where the student is not only engaged in the learning but is equally involved in learning, which means they can ask questions, they can clarify their doubts, and they can be assessed online. So that's something that we have been very cognizant about. We've been aware about this thing right from the beginning, and there are a lot of tools. Sharath probably can talk about it quickly if time permits, which we are using to ensure that students are able to learn online and not being taught online. I have seen where there are 80 students, 100 students, 120 students in one virtual classroom. The teacher is only talking for 1 hour and going off, and there is no way that the students can ask any questions because it's a complete chaos. So what we have been able to do is create small virtual classrooms of about 25-30 students, engage them, assess them, and ensure that we also take individual sessions online for the students who are not able to, let's say, pick up the pace at which the rest of the class is moving. So that's the way forward. It's going to be blended learning with still a personalized experience for every student.
Okay, seems to be two questions bottom which I'll also finish. Okay, I'll finish the easier question first. Subhas has asked we will provide online. At this moment, we are only doing it for our own students, Sylvester, not for outside. So someone who's doing an 11th and 12th with us, we are providing this training to them. We are not doing an online CFA or a CA program at this moment. So yeah, no, not us. Okay, the other question from Sarada was, Intertake MSc BBA, what next? Okay, if you do an MSc and then a BBA, normally if you get into good institute, they are BBA plus MBA. Or if you go into any other institute also, you can pursue an MBA program post that. And that leads to a master's degree. Yeah, you can also do a PhD like me if you want to do after that. But yeah, after MSc and a BBA, we can do an MBA program. Okay, just to conclude, maybe just the time, as Shuman was saying, very important, we are not just looking at teaching online, we are also looking at learning, which we are engaging through multiple different tools, like we use quizzing, like Quizzes, we use Kahoot, we use Padlet. And apart from that, we are also trying to integrate learning management system, LMS, into the system so that the students are tracking of how they are studying, what's happening. All those particular aspects are also taken into consideration, and not just teach and move on. So it's a high integration. Of course, as Suman said, we did an immediate reaction of taking classes online through Zoom, so that the student is not left without. So someone also in the initial, when will the classes start? I think, as I said, July, August, and there will be a combination of these two. And going further is just not Zoom classes, but there is a engagement of students. We see there has been experience. Small kids, Shuman, surprisingly, are being taken online classes. They have no clue what's happening. The teacher is teaching, and these people are, unfortunately, no one is equipped. So we are also learning along with you how to keep students engaged, how to track your learning system, how to keep. So it's a two-way interactive process. Otherwise, there have been incidents of people just switching on and then going and playing PUBG behind the muted audio, so which are not the right way. So this is evolving. So we are at Compass, we are involving a lot of learning management systems, tools, student engagement activities along with the online classes to give you that learning experience. So complete e-learning based.
So,
Yes, Neha.
when will our normal classes start? Monday?
Oh, your normal classes for
Like how
yes,
every
for,
day we used to have
yes,
online class.
yes, yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
we have already finalized the schedule and we will be sharing that. Atish sir will be sharing that with you very soon. So just one thing that I think Atish and Sharath, we missed out in the MEC CEC. We spoke about math as a part of careers. We spoke about civics or political science, commerce. I think there is that E in the middle. I just like to take 60 seconds on that. I think it will be unfair if you don't read that E. Economics is a it is, I think, pretty our natural inclination to ignore economics in this part of the country. But economics as an option is a very rewarding option. And though I was not brought up in Bengal, I can tell you that Bengalis in general are extremely passionate about economics. And I'm not talking from the Bengali perspective. Economics can be a great career option. There are very fine colleges for undergraduate, and I'm being told by experts in economics that for doing undergraduate studies in economics, India is one of the best countries suited for it. So there are very fine colleges in Delhi University, starting from Shri Ram College of Commerce, Lady Shri Ram College, which is especially for women. We have Venkateshwara, Shri Venkateshwara, which is in the South Campus of Delhi University. Again, a very good college for economics. St. Stephen's also is a very good college for economics. In fact, St. Stephen's is almost like an autonomous institution. They have interviews for selection for economics. Their English is also one of the highly coveted courses. You have St. Xavier's in Bombay, Presidency in Calcutta, Loyola in Chennai. These are some of the undergraduate colleges.
Yeah.
And after that, you can do a postgraduate again from Delhi University or Bombay University from the same kind of colleges. Or you can also look at options in UK, Singapore, and US. In fact, not many people take Singapore very seriously, but Singapore, the National University of Singapore, is one of the best in the world for economics, finance, and management studies. So that's a very good option for postgraduate. You can carry on with your research. And also, a lot of these people who finish their PhD from US, UK, or Singapore go on to teach and also carry out research, which can be both rewarding as well as satisfying. Professors in US are one of the best paid, probably after Google PhD holders. So
Yeah.
that's something that I thought that we must do justice to the E in MEC and CEC. Sharad?
I briefly mentioned it in between. I talked
Yes.
about HCO, yes,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you went in detail. Yes, absolutely, it's a great career option. So yeah, thanks. For,
Oh,
I think you have been
Subhash,
complimented. Economics.
perhaps
So,
no, nothing like that. Subhash, I think it is the communist leaning which has led to universities to come up like that. Jadavpur and Shantiniketan, which was started by Rabindranath Tagore. So we have, because these universities have been able to produce Amartya Sen and Abhijit Banerjee, they have become more popular. So nothing like in the DNA. It can be in the DNA of these people. People of these places also. I think by your surname I can make out you're from probably Odisha. So it can be in the DNA of any state in India. It's just a matter of interest.
okay, I think we seem to have done with the time. I hope we
Yes.
answered most of your questions. Yeah, over to
So
you.
thank
Ashish.
you everyone. Yes. Thank you everyone for joining us. So just in case you have any questions unanswered, you can reach out to us on our official numbers. So I have left that in the chat box. I have left our official email ID and we have left the website. Do follow us on Facebook and Instagram for further updates on such webinars and the other activities that we're going to perform.
So I was very apprehensive of doing this webinar, thinking that we are having a webinar overload. Last 2 months, everybody, each one of us, whether we are faculty or students, we have been bashed by webinar overload. Everybody is having webinar. I was very skeptical that it must be another one boring webinar. But I cannot talk on behalf of the student, but I can talk on behalf of myself. I really enjoyed today, for some reason, whether it is the kind of questions or the curiosity that the students displayed today, really enjoyed, and would like to have another one, Atish, if possible. Thank you so much for coming
Sure,
today.
sure.
Thank you for hosting us, Atish. Thanks, Sharad.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
Satish. Bye,
Thank you, sir.
Shlomen. Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
students, and some parents who are there.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.